What's going on, guys? Quick update. I know I haven't talked about the MR2 in a while. I am currently working on several things for this vehicle. One thing in particular are the T-top seals. Now, I know there's kind of a Band-Aid repair that you can do with the Honda grease, a Shin-Itsu grease. I think that's how you say it. It's a silicone grease specially formulated for these types of seals. It's supposed to work pretty well, but I don't know, something about just like slapping some grease on a seal doesn't really make me believe it's gonna fully restore a 30-plus-year-old seal. Either way, I went ahead and opted to buy brand new seals from Toyota for this car. They are not cheap. They're around 300 bucks. God damn! But I think it's pretty critical to make sure that the interior stays dry. I want to use the T-tops. I'm gonna have to take them off periodically to make sure that the seals stay spongy and nice and flexible. I'm just redoing everything. I'm working on getting the materials I need. Right now, they've got this 1/4-inch seal tape on Amazon. I was able to find it's a 3M product. It's a closed cell foam tape that goes between these metal trim pieces, blah, blah, blah. I'll go into detail on that if I decide to do a video. What I'm going to do is just pretty much complete one side, and then I'll do a video of the other side. That way we're not kind of figuring it out together. I just have a better idea, and the video is going to flow a lot smoother. Past couple of days I've been working on my mini split for the garage. It's been about 100 degrees. I don't like working on cars when it's hot. I've done it in the past. I've done it with jet skis. I've done it with the boat. I still do it with the boat. At this point, I just want to be comfortable. If I'm gonna be working on cars, I want to enjoy it. Knowing that I had it up there means I had to fix it. Ended up being a contactor, everything's good. Thought I was gonna have to replace the whole unit, which wasn't gonna happen this summer. Too expensive. Let's get on to the important stuff. I finally made a decision on some wheels. I'm not gonna go into how or why, but ultimately I wanted to stay with a lightweight, good looking wheel that wasn't going to break the bank. Of course, everybody wants T37Vs. Next best thing, Rotogrids, right? They're super heavy. 5 pounds heavier than the real wheel. I didn't really want reps. I wanted something name brand, but something that wasn't going to absolutely annihilate the bank and didn't have a 8 to 10 month lead time on a wheel if I damaged one. So here's what I decided to pick up. I'm gonna peel the panties off. Yep, I am officially an RPF1 guy. And these are gold and black go together like peanut butter and jelly. These are 15x8 plus 28 offset. I think that's really the only size they come in with a 15x8. Yeah, man, don't those look good? They didn't come with any center caps, but I'm kind of glad they didn't because the RPF1 center caps are kind of ugly. I did find a website, and I'll drop a link in the description below that does like custom center caps for this wheel. The 15x7 is apparently, the center cap's completely different. Not that I have to worry about that, but I thought that was kind of interesting and wanted to share that. Yeah, so new wheels. Still haven't bought tires for them yet. I'm gonna take 2 off the front of this one. They're Kumo Exta PS31s, which are kind of hard to find. They are like 170 bucks a tire right now, and I'm not gonna pay that much for some all-weather tires. With doing that wheel and tire setup and eventually planning on lowering the car with coilovers, I'm gonna have to roll the fenders, which I'm sure I can handle. But rolling the fenders is a task, and probably really only gonna need to do that once I truly lower the car, because it's sitting on iBox springs right now. They are a lowering spring, but it's not super low. I don't really want to go much lower than the car is right now, so maybe I can get away with just using the coil spring. So the plan is to get a couple of hand-cooked Ventus. They look identical tread pattern wise to the Kumo X, the PS31s, and they're like 78 bucks a piece. I just have to bite the bullet, buy the tires, and have them mounted. Next thing I want to talk about is I did purchase a 3D scanner. It's nothing special. It's a Creality Otter Light. It's like 600 bucks. It's a pretty decent scanner. My first project was this. So this is the door pull for the MR2. It just sits inside of the door panel, and that's what you pull to close the door. Kind of a simple thing. Initially I started big. I wanted to do like big dash components and stuff like that. I wanted to do something simple, and wasn't so simple. Still is kind of difficult because you're having to model around a 3D image. It isn't something like, at least with this value of scanner, you're not going to just take a 3D scan and just print it out. You're going to have to change some stuff because a lot of these parts are injection molded, right? So if you injection mold something, you're basically optimizing it for injection molding. And 3D printing is a very different process. And a lot of those pieces and little fins and ribs and stuff, you can eliminate from your model. And that's kind of what I did here. Here is the original. Here is the 3D scanned and printed version. Really, I put it into Fusion 360 and completely remodeled the thing. But it's very basic, very simple. Kind of something exciting, I decided to go ahead and purchase a set of SLS printed parts, which if you don't know what that is, that's selective laser sintering. It's basically a laser that melts a layer of plastic powder or some kind of media one layer at a time. So a squeegee will sweep the plastic powder across, and it does that one layer at a time. Now, obviously not something I'm gonna do at home. I was able to print one out of carbon fiber ASA, but with like supports and stuff. And honestly, I want something that looks really OEM, and SLS printing looks really good. It's gonna be nylon. It's gonna be suitable for high temperature. And I went with JLC3DP.com. Y'all wanna sponsor me, hit me up. Next thing I want to talk about is the headlight motor. The headlight motor on mine decided to stop working. I decided to take it apart, and in doing so, the screws that were holding everything together, mainly the limit switches, this big black plastic cover, those screws were not going to come out. I stripped them out. I ended up having to drill them out, and I got them pretty much dead nuts center, enough to where I felt comfortable, hopefully, now that I'm looking at it, putting a helicoil in there. So if that stuff shows up, I'll try to use it. If it doesn't work out, I could just nut and bolt it, should be fine. On the inside of these, there is a nylon gear, or what I would assume is nylon. That's how most of these things are. And as you can see, the hub of that gear is cracked, and it's holding up fine. It's raising and lowering the headlight fine, so I don't think it's a problem yet. However, I would love to get another one of these. I'm probably just going to buy a decent replacement. The reason I really want to buy another one, even though I can get this one to work, is so that I can remove that gear and not worry about breaking it, because if it does break, okay, that sucks. But I can 3D scan this and reverse engineer it to where we can just print these out. If you guys have an aging motor, or if that gear strips out or cracks completely, you just pop that gold piece out and, you know, change gear out. This is all theoretical. I haven't tried to take this gear out. It might be a huge pain in the butt, but there's only one way to find out, and I don't want to find out on the only one I have to raise and lower my headlight. I bought an aftermarket ECU for this car. Initially, I was planning on doing a adapter wiring harness, and I still could, but the ECU I decided to purchase is a Russ EFI Super UA EFI. If you don't know what this is, it's an open source ECU, Russ EFI. Drop that in the description below. Now, there are aftermarket ECUs for these cars that can work with the 4AGE, but there's not really anything that works with the 4AGZE. I think there's some critical differences. Obviously, the supercharger has its own circuit that controls it and engages it and all that based off the throttle position. Doesn't really work with the Mega Squirt. Your only real option is to work with those companies with Mega Squirt to make you some sort of adapter harness. But it's really old tech from what I understand. Those Mega Squirts are kind of just the plug and plays that just started bringing them back out because the 4AG is still pretty popular and people are getting into the retro 80s stuff. I've always been into it. You know, I'm not a newcomer to this. I've been into 80s stuff for a while, but the Japanese stuff is new to me. I could just get this to work. I could build a harness to get this to work. It would require a couple of what they call VR conditioners. Not going to go into too much detail on that. The ignition system on these cars is kind of weird. Everything has one ground. And apparently that one wire shared between all three of these really pisses off this ECU or aftermarket ECU. So you need this conditioner, and the conditioners are about 50 bucks each. I decided just to hit the brakes on this for a second. I got some stuff I want to address with the car, obviously, like seals, the wheels and tires, and just kind of enjoy the car for a little bit longer. You know, I'm not getting rid of this car anytime soon, and I feel like that's a perfect reason between this ECU, you know, going with a more modern fuel injector, maybe doing a turbo manifold on the car, because it's not my daily. I want my family to know I'm a car guy, you know? But that's pretty much it. If be on the lookout for that T-top seal video. I don't know if there's already one out there or not. Maybe there is, and I'm just spinning my wheels here. I'm really excited to start working towards like basically reverse engineering a lot of these interior plastics that are kind of fading away, as well as doing some custom exhaust manifolds, 3D printed exhaust manifold, and maybe some kind of intercooler setup. I got all kinds of ideas brewing around in my head. Don't have a lot of time, don't have a lot of money. You know how it is. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Degreeless Engineering channel where we engineer using experience. And I'm going to be experiencing a whole heck of a lot coming up here soon. Stay tuned.